Noise, just be yourself. If people don't like it, if you're being yourself, fuck them.
Big Los.
Hollywood Kev.
And welcome to another episode of The Noize. Special episode today.
Yes, sir.
I'm very excited about this one. It's not just because of the story that we're going to hear. Mm-hmm. It's because I've known this man literally 10 years now.
Wow, okay.
This month.
Oh, yeah. Y'all
you know what I'm saying? So to see his rise and the fact that he's nowhere near his ceiling has been great. This is somebody I couldn't wait to get on the show. You couldn't wait till we got him on the show.
Oh, yeah, because I got questions. You know, I'm trying to be where he
I'm trying to catch up to him. You feel me?
Exactly.
But, and of course, everybody tuning in, you know, showing that gold and green love, they ready for the story. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and just start BSing everybody. Let's get this thing going.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, ear hustlers of the Noize, welcome actor, singer, and we're going to get into that as well, good brother. Everything known as entertainment, my brother Mac Wells. What's going on with you, bruh?
What's happening, man? What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Happy to have you on the show, sir.
Definitely.
Man, it's good to be here, man. I'm cheesing from left to right. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing.
So the ego got touched just a little bit in the situation. You feeling good.
Just a tad, man. Just a small little piece, but I never let the ego override.
Not at all. Never. Because then you already know they try to take it away from you after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've always been a really humble, but a true believer in all of your talents, and I think that's probably been the most admirable thing about knowing you because you put in work. And it's funny because a lot of people they're not there for the story; they're only there for the glory. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I really want to touch on all that inside this show. Other than that, man, how you living over there? How's Atlanta treating you?
Man, you know what, man? Atlanta is great, dog. You know, when I first came down here, man, I was like, man, I don't know. You know, I'm just starting. I got to pull myself up and, you know, be recognized or known as an actor in the city or in the community. So, But Atlanta is great, man. The Southern hospitality is amazing. You know,
I bet
it's so many dope things, man. That what it really is that Atlanta, it really shows you black excellence on every level.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whether it's film and TV, whether it's, you know, black owned businesses or, you know, entrepreneurship, it's so much of that going on. Like when the mansions you see in the richest areas of Atlanta, it's black people, you know, walking out of
living in those houses, right?
Okay. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's really inspiring, man. So Atlanta's great.
Bro, that's why, and we've had these conversations. That's why Atlanta is like my prime destination. That's just where I gotta be.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, that seemed like the spot.
It just seems, you know, obviously we're in America, so being black out here is it's difficult.
Right.
You know, but Atlanta seems like black enterprises thrive out there and they move, and you're almost on the you're on the same playing field as a white person, basically.
Gotcha.
It's a great place, bro.
Yeah, man.
Before we get into these interview questions, Mac, I got to take this time to talk all the mess I can to my co-host because we had our awards showdown. Mm-hmm. First of all, did you watch the Billboard Awards, bro?
I didn't, man. You know, I didn't catch them. I was actually on set at the time.
As you should have been, exactly.
Yeah. So I missed them.
And I see some other stuff you're working on. Trust me, I'm going to get in your business. But so we do something here on the Noize called the Award Showdown. We just started it with the Billboard Awards. Mm-hmm. And basically the loser with the worst predictions, they have to do the punishment that was chosen by our listeners. And the punishment is he has to eat the hottest wings in Las Vegas.
Is it confirmed that I lost?
Oh, yeah, it's confirmed. It's 5-9, bro.
I don't believe that.
It's 5-9.
I want to recount.
No. It's already been counted. But we'll go over. I'll make sure I'll put out the numbers and I'll put out the votes.
I want to see the numbers on the paper.
And everybody can go back and listen to the show and hear your choices.
I don't believe this shit.
But as I was saying, you got to eat the hottest wings in Vegas, so it's going to take some research for us to find those. And your boy, Big Los, has won 9 to Kevin's 5.
That's what you're saying now. It has not been confirmed.
Yeah, okay. We'll confirm it. We'll confirm it after the show. And make sure we put the numbers out with the show.
Confirmed, man. I don't like hot shit. But anyway, has not been confirmed.
But you know what? It's all good. because your boy won. This is what we do, Mac. We win. We catch these W's.
Hey, you got to catch the W's, buddy.
Now Kev knows that better, so he'll do better next time. So
Wait a minute. Okay. All right.
You know, you got to believe to achieve, brother. Is basically what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
So make sure y'all listen and look out for that. That video should be dropping soon. We're going to find the area. Kev is going to enjoy those wings. Oh, it's going to be a great one.
Eat shit. How about that?
That's just so rude. So rude. Anyway, so now this is the opportunity we're going to take to get into your business, Mac. Hopefully you don't mind.
Don't mind at all, brother.
Yes, sir. So, again, appreciate you coming on the show, and let's go ahead and get this interview started.
Definitely.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to just jump out there. I want to know where you from. Like, give us your background, where you from. I know you said you're in Atlanta. Are you from Atlanta? Let us know what's going on.
Got you, man. I am born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, the east side of Detroit. Shout out to Detroit one time.
Okay.
And I graduated from Winans Academy of Performing Arts, and then from there, I went to Wilberforce University, which is in Ohio. So, you know, I'm from Detroit. You know, I grew up in Ohio, then I moved to Atlanta, and then I grew up in my career in Atlanta.
Okay.
So, born and raised in the D.
So, again, we've known each other for 10 years. And
Right.
from what I've known, you've always been this big-time singer. You even got your bachelor's in music. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if y'all haven't heard Mac sing, it's plenty on YouTube. Trust me, the boy can blow. So what actually attracted you to the career of being an actor? Because I remember you brought it up, and I was like, really? You want to act? I was not expecting that. He was like, it's a
Right.
lifelong dream. So what attracted you to chase a career in acting?
Well, you know what it is, man, is I started in stage first. And, you know, I was kind of a little hot-head, kind of wild kid growing up, fighting or whatever. And so one day, randomly, my mom was like, look, I'm going to take you to the church, and I'm going to put you in this rehearsal. It's a stage play. You be in that. And so my first, you know, I was in this play called The Last Supper, and I think I was James, one of the disciples. Mm-hmm. And the moment that curtain opened, man, I caught the bug. I was 12. And I was like, yo, I got to sing and act in that. And I was like, yo, this is it for me. I got to act, you know, the rest of my life.
The Last Supper. And is it what I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was about, okay.
So with that, who's your favorite actor? It could be past, present. Who's your favorite actor and why?
See, I know this answer.
Outside of yourself.
You know what? It's Denzel. Denzel Washington all the way. And my favorite movie, man, it's so hard to pick a favorite, man.
Yeah,
out of
that's
everything. Given performance, given the story, given, you know, being inspired by it, I'm gonna have to roll with man.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's a lot of great ones out there.
It is, man, because I got like a top 5.
Okay, what's your top 5?
Okay, top 5. Okay, we got John Q, which is a Denzel film. We got Temptations. We got Forrest. Yeah, we got Forrest Gump. We got Talk to Me with Don Cheadle.
Okay,
and then Hurricane with Denzel at the end.
Yo, shout out to you for bringing up Talk to Me. That was an excellent film that was really slept on.
I was really going to say, out of all the top 5 movies that I've heard, that probably is the most different, diverse. You know what I mean? Right. I haven't heard that particular lineup. So, but that's a hell of a lineup.
Oh, man, listen, man, that performance inspired me. It came out in 2007, and I was blown away by that. You know what I mean? And any performance that blows me away, I'll still watch it now and be like, oh, man, it was just an amazing performance, you know, for me. So that's one of my top 5.
I'm not gonna lie, I expected a lot more Denzel in that top 5 list. Like you hear cats do like the Denzel impressions or whatever. Mac becomes Denzel when he's doing Denzel. Like I'm almost positive that one of his first readings had to be a Denzel monologue, wasn't it?
You know what? It was.
That was a guess.
I did a monologue from John Q. You know, years ago. This was before I moved to Atlanta, and I was auditioning for something, and I did a John Q monologue. You know, because you know Denzel, man, that brother. See, when you learn about acting, like the true craft of it, when it comes to TV and film, you realize that people will only attach themselves to you if you bring authenticity to it, and if they can see bits and pieces of you in everything. And every time you watch a Denzel movie, no matter what character he's playing, there's him leading the way. You see what I'm saying? Like the jaw thing or the shoulder thing he does or the way he moves his hands. That's just who he is. So to be able to connect with all these different characters and still not lose your essence, that's what makes him, the GOAT in my opinion.
I agree.
Completely robbed of Oscars, but, you know.
With that, since you kind of spoke on this, and this next question is definitely, I'll admit it, is definitely for my own benefit. The audition process. You spoke on that a little bit. Talk about how the audition process is.
Man, now you know what? The audition process is crazy, man. For a couple of reasons, because you can get a role, man, that fits you, or you can get a role that absolutely has nothing to do with who you are, how you act, or how you portray, or you know what I'm saying? But the joy in that is being able to find something in the text that you can relate to or connect with. So what happens is, my agent will send me an audition. I will, read it. I can either get on tape or I could go in person. And from that, man, you may not hear nothing back for weeks or even months. And then you get a call, you booked it, or you don't hear nothing at all. And that's the hard part. Like, you don't know why they pick you. You don't know what you did or didn't do to not get heard from or none of that.
So basically,
is if you get a call back or as if you book.
Okay, yeah. So basically, if you ain't hear nothing, you ain't get it.
Yeah, pretty much. What I've learned in that process is just to don't expect anything. Just for this moment, I go in there and I portray the character to the best of my ability. And once I walk out of there, that's it. I rid myself of it. I throw away the sides and I move on to the next one. You know what I mean? That's the best way to handle the audition process, because you'll mess around and be attached to every character you audition for and be heartbroken when you don't get it.
That sounds like in basketball, we say that it's a shooter mentality. You miss that first one, don't even think about it. Just get ready for the next one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, with all that, Denzel being, your guide, and you dropped the top 5, and you're in the same lane. So nowadays, what's your motivation? Like what's one of your top motivators right now?
To keep going, man. You know what? Honestly, man, my motivation is to be what the Denzels and the Wills and the Jamie Foxxes is to what they were to me growing up. You know what I mean? That's my motivation. It's not the money or the fame or nothing like that. It's to inspire the next kid, from Detroit or Cleveland or Vegas or, you know what I mean, or inner city kid. They may see me in a movie and say, wow, this black man did it. I can do it too.
Right.
You know what I mean? That for me, no matter what happens, no matter what goes on, how many no's I get, is going to keep me going every single day, because that's what Denzel and them did for me.
Absolutely. So, we got your motivation. What was your first role as an actor?
On TV and film or stage?
Either or. Just whatever was your first one where you was like, okay, I got me one.
Yeah, I know you went through the stage one earlier, so I guess whenever you got in front of that camera.
First one I got in front of the camera, it was a short film called The Value of Life. And I was playing a father who had died or whatever have you. But gems or things that I left to my son still carried him on, through his life. That was the first on-camera role that I got, and it was very well received. And when I saw that playback, that's when I recognized as well, okay, I can transition to TV and film as well.
Was that a hard transition? Because I know you said before then you only had experience in stage, so was that a hard transition?
It is. The transition from stage to film, a huge rule in TV and film is less is more. Stage, more is better, because you got to be larger. You got to get to the audience. You got to feed all of these different things. You got to be loud and broad. You got to project a whole lot. But TV, I can speak just as low as I'm talking right now to be well received, so it can be honest and an authentic performance. So learning the balance between how to still be honest, authentic, and give my best on film, it was a tough transition to find at first. But once you find it,
you start Denzeling things. It's for what it sounds like.
Right.
Now, I remember seeing you on stage back at Wilberforce, and as always, shout out Wilberforce University. But I remember when I legitimately had my brother flip out moment was when you did that Norfolk Southern commercial, and I think I text you, and I was like, "Oh, that's dope." But I'm in Vegas, and when I saw it in Vegas, I was like, "Yo!" And I had to post it. I had to, catch the screenshot, post it up, and I had to brag because I'm like, I know him. And then just getting doing the research to get things together for this episode, and I'm like, damn, this man's filmography.
Yeah, for TV and film, it's been a past. I moved down here in 2012. I got my first thing in 2014, so I would say 5 years.
Okay.
For TV and film, but I've been acting since. Like I said.
Oh, yeah, of course, definitely.
But like a lot of people say, like professionally, career wise, it's only been it's been 5 years.
Now, with the Norfolk commercial being the first thing I've seen you in, to recently seeing you in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Huge.
Right.
And not just Guardians of the Galaxy, being part of the promotion for Guardians of the Galaxy because you did Kimmel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, so talk to me about how, one of the major things we saw you in was that commercial, and now you're in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, talk to me about that experience, seeing yourself on the big screen.
You know what, man? It was because the commercial, that was my first booking through my agent.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while. Like, it took like a year and a half, of like 1,000 no's. And then with that commercial, they were originally going to give it to another guy who looks just like me, but he couldn't do it. And so they called me. Yeah, they called me and was, had me on first refusal. So they called me and was like, yeah, we want you to do it. And that was an amazing experience. Now, fast forward to Guardians, if you got a dream as an actor, it is your dream to see yourself on that screen,
right,
in a movie theater. Regardless of how big or how small the role is, whatever. And so I sat in the back of the theater by myself with my grandmother's shirt on, and I shared some tears, man, because I was like, I did it. If nothing else happened after this, that moment right there is that's what I dreamed about. And that was another one of them things where I didn't hear back from them for 3 months.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I auditioned for it. I let it go. And 3 months later, I got the call that, I booked the film. And I cried right there,
That's crazy.
Like, just putting it into perspective, he went from the commercial to a movie that made $150 in his opening weekend.
Yeah.
$150 million.
Yeah.
And you were a part of that.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna spoil it, but damn, why they do you like that in the movie though?
Yeah, don't spoil it, because I still gotta see it.
You know what? That was the first time I think I'd ever be cool with dying. You know what I'm saying? For real. Like, it was, but you know what? The movie was so good that, I was already excited about just the film in itself. Mm-hmm. It was so good that so when I came up in the film, like, I knew it was me, but I was so intrigued with the story that it just floated right along with everything else. You know what I mean? And that was just, good to experience.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with that, because I know Los mentioned it earlier, talk about Kimmel. How did that whole thing transpire?
Man, listen, when that came out, I was just as surprised as everybody else. Like, for real. One of my fraternity brothers commented on my page, "Yo, dog, I just seen you on Kimmel." I replied, "Nah, no, you didn't. I wasn't on Kimmel."
That wasn't me.
I signed off on that. What you mean?
Yeah, I'm at home. And then I got a text message. Like, "Yo, I just seen you on Kimmel. Unless you got a twin that look just like you." I'm like, "Okay, hold on. What's going on?" And then the next day, my high school vocal coach wrote on my Facebook page and said, "Wow, Jimmy Kimmel, Guardians of the Galaxy 2." And I said, "Okay, hold on." So then I went on YouTube and I saw the clip, and I broke completely down. Like, my boy Remy was here, Dante was here, and I just completely, like, wow, I was blown away by that. And so I just paused for a moment, and I told my moms and pops to I was on Jimmy Kimmel Live. I had no idea that was happening. Like, while I was filming the movie, I just was there to do my part. I had no idea that was going to be a part of Kimmel.
That's crazy.
See, I would have instantly started questioning stuff as soon as Guillermo showed up. I'm like, wait, hold on. I know you.
See, I recognized them, but me, I just came to do what I had to do. So
right,
I
you're
recognized
in the mode.
them. Yeah, I was in the mall. I recognized them, but I didn't pay it no mind. You know what I mean? Until I saw that video, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because I was like, why is this dude just saying this line like this? I was like, yo, this is not, you know what I mean? But I just, but what I like, man, they captured just me being me. Mm-hmm. I was just joking back and forth with them, clowning, and I didn't know they was filming all of that. You know what I'm saying? So that was just great to see, man. It was great to see.
That's dope. that's dope. Like I'm getting inspired. The more we talk, I'm getting inspired.
Time to go shoot something.
Yeah. So with that, because I know we see it a lot with other actors. What has been the most extreme change to either your personality, your body, your weight? You know how like Christian Bale got mad skinny. What was that movie?
Oh yeah, Fighter.
Yeah. No, it was another one.
It was one before that.
The Machine.
The Machine.
There we go.
Yeah,
The
there you
Machine.
go.
You know, so stuff like that. What have you done? Anything to that magnitude? I mean, probably not lose all that weight, but what's been your most
You
transformation?
didn't see prior Mac. There was a completely different Mac.
Oh, really?
Well,
speak on it.
You know what? I was really big by the time I graduated Wilberforce. You know, I was close to 300 pounds. And when I moved down here, I started seeing all these actors. Like, man, these niggas in shape like a mother. There's no way I'm going to compete with these guys.
See, that's
and
why
so
I've
I
been in
dropped.
the gym.
Yeah, you know. So I did insanity workout and I dropped 70 pounds.
Yeah,
and
man.
then I got so small that I didn't enjoy that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I picked up a couple more weight, but then I got a role in a film called Defending Daddy, where I played a character named Blue, and he was a gangster or whatever. But the character opposite of me was a much smaller guy, so I put on more pounds, and they didn't notice, but I put on more pounds to look more intimidating than he was, because I ended up shooting and killing him in the film.
Good job.
And so so before I shot that, I just started eating just so I could look more intimidating and bigger. I knew I was probably going to be in something black, and I had these big jeans that I used to wear when I was fat. I said, okay, I got to find a way to get back into these gray jeans. And so I started eating crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I positioned myself just to be a sort of a bigger force, you know what I mean? And then after that, you know what I'm saying? It's been hard to try to get that off me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, for Blue, I did that. You know, I showed up bigger and ready to, you know what I'm saying, be an intimidating person.
Oh, so you're already familiar with the diet regimen and all that stuff when it comes down to playing these different roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds difficult because just to lose weight for life sounds just to lose weight just to live is already difficult enough. And the fact that you have these, this time table that you got to live by, I know that had to be challenging. With your acting credits. And also see you got something coming up with The Rock, Rampage. Like I remember hearing about that movie.
Yeah. Wait.
But I'm like, you just could just snuck your way into Rampage apparently.
You know what, man? Yeah. You know, I play in that movie the communications officer. Me and my colonel are doing everything we can to save the people of Chicago.
Right, because this is the movie that's after the game, right? The old arcade game.
Yeah. Rampage is after that. And you know what, man? That was just another blessing, man. You know, the Rock has been on my vision board for years. You know, he's been a hero of mine since I was a kid. And so, you know, I got the audition. See, I got the audition not knowing that the Rock was going to be in this. So I didn't let that motivate me. I just, you know, went there and did what I could, but when I got the director's call back, they had me audition for like 7 different roles. So I got like 16 pages of stuff in my hands. And I said, okay, so what I got to go in here and do is just, no matter what happens, I just got to give them 100% me and just be in a moment. Right. And the moment the director stood up in there and started to direct me on where he wanted me to be, what he wanted me to do, I said, I got this.
Like, that's it right there.
Yeah,
You're
I got
involved
it.
in.
Yeah, for a moment he was sitting there. Like a lot of auditions you walk into, they'll sit there, they won't give you nothing, they won't say nothing, they won't even say they liked you. They'll just say, okay, and you walk out. Like there's nothing. But when he stood up and started to say, okay, no, I want you to try it like this, I want you to do it like this, and you know, look at the screen and this and that, I said, this guy's invested in what I'm giving him. So I walked out of there like, out of all of them auditions, out of them 7, I booked the biggest one. You know what I mean? And so it was just another blessing, another God moment. You know what I mean? To show me that what I'm doing is, you know, is ordained and it's my calling.
Yes, sir.
And you know, it was an amazing experience.
See, off the air, me and you got to have a conversation. Like no BS. Me and you got to have a conversation off the air.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
All of these different roles that you're playing. I mean, dude, you've been a bailiff, you've been a cop, you've been a thug, you've been a singer in church. What was the toughest role for you?
The toughest?
Yeah.
You know what? The toughest role out of all of those things, I'm going to roll with the communications officer. I'm going to roll with that one.
So the most recent?
Yeah, the most recent. That was the toughest one because I got to give all of this information, you know, and I got to act like I'm looking for it on screens, and I'm looking at screens and there's nothing there that exists. You see what I'm saying? So I have to act like I actually found the information, and what I'm typing has to be accurate to what I found, and while still getting my line delivered in time to my colonel to make it look like I actually did that. That was, that was difficult. And the director, I like to call him an actor's director. He was throwing so many different things at me, so many different numbers, so many different things, so many different movements and ways. No, Mac, I need you to move from here to here, do it like this, say it like this, and then look up at the screen. I had to react to things. There were things that you can react to, but it's not like I can actually see it happening.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if what I mean, I can't go into depth as much as I like to, but that was difficult. So I had to really just create all of that on my own. So when I'm typing stuff in, I'm really typing in codes that I just created right there on the spot to make it feel authentic. So I'm just typing in things of words and codes I created to find the information to give it back to the colonel. And that made it flow for me that I'm doing this for real. And once I locked in on that, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't a communications officer.
I am him.
Like, this is my job. This is a side gig. This is where they got me from. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Lo said at the beginning, nobody's seeing the work you put in. You know what I mean? So I know that has to be stressful. I know it has to be tough. How do you remain positive with all that?
Man, honestly, the number one thing I do is pray. I meditate. I can't control. I'll say this. I try not to take too serious on what I book. Or what I don't book, because I can't control that. You know what I mean? I try not to be so hard on myself, even though as an artist, you naturally do that. And so I still have those bouts and those moments where I'm like, dog, I just don't understand or whatever. But I pray, I meditate, I try my best to smile a lot. You know what I'm saying? I also got a great girlfriend who, supports me. She's an actress as well. So we have a lot of fun, and she understands me, I understand her. So I try to just have a balanced life. And put myself around, just positive people. And also what I do for a living, on top of acting, is I self-tape other actors. So often I'm getting texts and calls from other actors saying that they booked. And they thank you so much. I booked the show. I appreciate your help. That lifts me up more than me booking the show. You know what I'm saying? So I got all of these different things going on that keeps me positive. I can call my girlfriend and say, babe, I had a terrible audition. It just did not go right, or whatever happened. And she's going to say what she's going to say that's going to take me from that and lift me up, and vice versa. Or I can call my mentor, my acting coach, about something, you know what I mean? Or I can just, some moments, man, it's just me and God. And whatever's going on, I'll cry it out. I'll pray, I'll read the word. Or, I'll just meditate and try to silence all of those negative thoughts. Because no matter how positive we are as people, negative thoughts are just going to find their way into your world.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, regardless. We can't, that's a part of life. So I try to combat that, be combative with negativity, with pouring as much positivity on it as I can. You know how you got something nasty, and if you get some hot sauce and you drown it in hot sauce, eventually that hot sauce is going to make it taste, you know what I'm saying? It's going to make it taste a little bit better. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to do with negativity, but I deal with it.
With so much out of your control, especially in that acting industry, what was like your biggest challenge in your acting career thus far?
Biggest challenge was believing that I was enough. That's the biggest challenge, because studying Denzel and Will and all of them, you try to mimic what they doing.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? You naturally like, okay, well, this one, I'm gonna go in there like Denzel on this one, but we already got a Denzel. I can't get him that. You know what I'm saying? So just believing that Michael Williams Lawson, a.k.a. Mac Wells, is enough. What I have to offer is going to be good enough regardless. Right. I'm great at what I do. And if it ain't enough, then it just ain't going to happen. Right. But eventually, somebody going to see that I'm, you know what I mean? That I'm gifted and I'm talented, and that's all I can stand on. That's the hardest part, because this business is full of so much rejection. It's filled with so much, like, dog, did I choose the right shit? You know what I'm saying? For real, like, excuse my language. I'm sorry.
You want to know it. You good.
This is the least amount of cussing we've ever done on this show. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah. But it really feels like that sometimes. I mean, for the yeses that I've gotten, for the guys, for what you guys seen on my IMDb, I can times a million that how many no's I've got.
Of course.
And how just gut-wrenching it is to be like, dog, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But that passion and that drive takes over that anxiety and that fear. You know, I just try to live with that. But yeah, hardest thing is just believing in yourself.
That's something I stress to a lot of people, especially on this show.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the go for it mentality, if you have the knowledge to actually branch out and do something, not just as a job, but as a career, and as something that actually feeds into your spirit, that feeds into your talent, why not just jump out and do it? Exactly. Everything has some kind of adversity, some kind of issue that you're going to run into, some kind of wall. And it's really, this is the pool, sink or swim.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Hearing everything you said so far, what would you, throughout your career, what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment thus far? You know what? Honestly, I try not to look at it that way. Mm-hmm. I try not to look at it as, you know what, this was my greatest accomplishment. I always try to look at it as that I'm just going to keep going regardless of how big or how small the role is, so that I can just keep growing as an artist. So I think my biggest accomplishment in all of this is the humility of it all. Because, folk can get lost, man. Folk, I'm telling you, like, some people, will book one role and then they start treating people different and they start, you know what I mean? So...
You asked him, did you want paper or plastic?
Right. He pizza got number 2 and he's big time now.
Yeah. And so I think that, it's an accomplishment to have integrity and be humble in your career and still treat people the same way you would treat them without it. That for me is a bigger accomplishment than any movie role could ever give. And and remaining true to my foundation, which is my love for God, and not allowing anything to deter me from that. You know what I mean? So I think that's my biggest accomplishment.
Amen, bro. Because I know in that industry, that's the first thing people start doing is like, you know what? God ain't real. This ain't happening. Yeah. I'm done. Yeah. Like the Christianity goes out the window immediately as soon as they start seeing things go down.
Yeah, and folks start to attack that. Whether they're scared of it or they think, oh no, you didn't make it because of that. You made it because of you. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, a portion of me did the hard work, but had I not had God in my life, man, the faith and the faith that I've had to have in God to keep going. See, people, misconstrue. No, you did that. You did the hard work. Yeah, I did work hard. But what about the moments when I didn't want to work hard? Who pushed me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What about the moments when, I was depressed or I was stressed out or I was sleeping on floors or sleeping on couches? Who gave me the strength to believe that I could move forward when everything against me was telling me I couldn't? Mm. You know what I mean? That's the God thing. Right. And that's what I explain to people. And so that's, it's got to keep it a balance.
And he's been putting you in really good positions to elevate, you know what I mean? And you've been on it. Now, with all of these roles that you've been playing, what is that one role that is like, when I get this role, this is when I truly feel I'm amongst the elite? Like, what's that dream role for you? What's going to get, Mac Wells that gold statue?
My dream role, and I've been saying this since I was 12 years old, man, is to play Donny Hathaway in a biopic.
Really?
Yes.
That's different.
That's different. It hasn't been done.
It hasn't been done because I'm going to do it. They're waiting on me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's my dream role, man. I everybody who knows me knows. That's why, like, my senior recital, I sung A Song for You by Donny Hathaway, dedicated to my grandmother. Like, every part of my life, Donny Hathaway, some shape, form, or fashion, has been a part of it because, I think he's one of the, if not the greatest male vocalist ever. You know what I'm saying? But it's his struggle that he went through, the paranoid schizophrenic, of that story I want to tell. A black man dealing with that, because we don't deal with that in our community.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because we don't think we can suffer from these things, but we actually do. So I want to play Donny. I want to tell his story. I want to live through his music, through the text of the story. And I'm already, working with one of my homeboys, who was the writer and director of a film I did called Scars. And we're trying to pull something together just to open up Hollywood to say, look, this is the story we need to tell. Mm-hmm. Because this is what we're really out here dealing with. Right. You know what I mean? But he also got these hits. He got these songs. He got this story. So that's my dream role. Got to do it. It's going to happen.
Yeah. That and it sounds very, very achievable. Very achievable.
I mean, well, why not? Well, I mean, this may be, I know it's not a stretch because it's you. Why not, start putting that story together yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, me and my I like to call them we like each other's muse. You know what I mean? Like each other's. Every time he writes a script, he'll email me, Mike, what do you think of this? And we went to high school together. Mm-hmm. He's also an actor. You know, he's a writer director, but he's really, really become an outstanding writer and director. And you know, he was down here to visit, and I was like, yo, I want you to direct this Donny Hathaway film. And he was like, what? And I just started breaking down the story. We started going online, looking at things. So we are in the early development stages of creating a treatment for it to shoot something and, you know, to write it out and pitch it and stuff like that. So it's, you know, within the next year, something is coming. Something Donny is coming.
It's coming. So with that, I mean, I know you touched on it a little bit. Have you thought about directing or screenwriting? Have you thought about putting yourself out there to do it?
You know what, man? I respect the craft of people who can write, you know, because I tried it and I can't stand it when it comes to, you know, screenwriting. Now, I love writing music, but screenwriting is a whole different kind of beast. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've sat at a computer or at a desk to go and write before, and I'm just not passionate about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? About the writing thing. Now, what I can do is I can create the story and get a partner to write it for me. You know what I'm saying? Now that I would be more passionate about than sitting there and writing it, because I respect the people who live and breathe and die by writing a script. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to play with it. You know what I mean? I don't want to tippy-toe with that and take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? When I know I'm not really passionate about that. But directing, I do want to direct eventually because, like I said, I run a self-taping business with my acting coach and mentor, Dwayne Boyd. And it's given me an eye for what works, what doesn't work, what looks good, what cast and directors will frown upon, what they may smile about. And I've been able to help actors and actresses create some magic behind the lens. So I do know that eventually the directing is going to be in the future.
That's dope.
So yeah. I don't know if you could touch on this, but when I was going through the IMDb and I saw you just wrapped up, well, at least according to the page, I saw that you just wrapped up on a movie called Sunday Mornings. And the first picture I see when you go into it is you in how I knew you, full mic mode. You know what I'm saying? You're performing, you're on stage, or you're projecting. Can you touch on a little bit of what Sunday Mornings is about and how they feel to kind of return to what I know, at least as to your roots?
Oh, yeah, man. Sunday Mornings is all straight up like singing. I sung more than that than anything. Like I sung on the soundtrack. I did the harmony. And I actually shot that back in 2014. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've had the premiere here in Atlanta. And, you know, that film has won a bunch of awards, but they're pitching it to be a TV series and stuff like that. And what that is I played a character by the name of Evan, mm-hmm. who's a youth minister, but he's a former drug dealer. Yeah, that's what intrigued me about the story. See, Evan was like a former drug dealer. He was known in the streets for, you know what I'm saying, if you got a problem, he could take you out or whatever. Like, he was this crazy dude, but he went to prison, found Christ, found God, got released, and then became a youth minister at a church. And then he's fallen for one of the twin sisters. Now he's the stand-up guy, and now he wants to sort of help out the church and take youth under his wing. However, his past started to come back to haunt him for the dirt that he did before he, you know, became this youth minister. So now he's trying to hide that from the church and, you know, trying to close some old doors and all these different types of things. So the script, all of that was really amazing. And I pray that, you know, it can be picked up one day and we can continue that, because I was so intrigued.
This is a main role for you then.
Yeah. That was a main role. You know, I would be a series regular on that one if it was ever blessed to move forward as a show. And, you know, I got to see.
When it's blessed to move forward as a show, we got to speak that thing in existence.
Absolutely. And for that audition, they wanted me to read the sides, and then I sung a Donny Hathaway. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know that I was going to be doing that much singing, man. But they had wrote a song that we went into the studio, recorded for the soundtrack, you know, did harmonies, and, you know, and then we shot a scene where it was like a musical. So it was like, this thing is like a drama. It's like a dramedy musical type crazy mashup, man. And I thought it was really, really dope what the script was. And I'm praying that, you know, it'll move forward. And in one of them scenes, I'm like singing and dancing and, you know, doing a whole bunch of, you know, what I did in undergrad. So it was great to be in that element.
It just felt natural.
Yeah.
This is a very offset question. It's a two-parter. One's a serious one, and one I guess is my personal interest. First question. So how did it feel? 'Cause I saw you were thug number 3 on the Have and Have Nots twice.
Yeah.
So how did it feel to work with Tika Sumpter after seeing what she looked like in Ride Along? Like, were you able to handle it knowing what was under that dress? And secondly, what I guess my true question is, what was it like to work with something affiliated to Tyler Perry?
You know what, man? I didn't get to see Tika Sumpter.
Damn.
Yeah, I didn't get to see her. I didn't get to see her because you know how they work it is, you know, when they shooting one scene, other actors could be on break or they could not be up for the next day or whatever. So, you know, we all had different days or shooting different parts in the studio. So I didn't get to see her in that thing. But yeah, I was on 2 episodes of that playing Warlock's, one of his thugs or whatever. And listen, I loved working over there, man. They treat you like a star. Like I had my own suite on Tyler Perry's studio. I mean, he was great. He was friendly. You know, the way they treat black actors on that set, man, was just like everybody was important. Everybody was a star. Everybody was, you know, somebody. And man, it's a machine over there, man. The way they run it was just great to be a part of it. You know, it was really a great experience over there, and it was a dream come true. You know, I remember before I moved down here, I used to go on Tyler Perry's message board on his website and I wrote on there every day for 2 months straight, the summer before I moved out there. And I wrote every day, my name is Michael Adrian Williams Lawson Jr. I'm an actor, singer, and songwriter. I just graduated with a degree in vocal performance. I'm moving to Atlanta. I would love the opportunity to work with you. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. I submitted videos, all of that. So to fast forward 4 years later, to work with him and be directed by him, it was just, and he on all my vision boards. It was just a dream come true.
Yeah,
that's dope, bro.
It truly is.
I love that, man. Seriously.
So with everything that we've talked about, what's next? What you got in store for us, man?
Man, I got Pitch Perfect 3. That's coming out, and I'm singing and dancing in that.
Why'd you just lead into that like it was something small? Like, this is a movie that was kind of buzzing. Pitch Perfect. They got a 3rd one coming out. I'm in that.
Man, you know, because I don't, you know, I just try to approach it as the work. You know what I mean? But like, I got that. I got Rampage coming out as well, and another episode of Nashville, and the actual episode of me talking and Have and Have Nots is airing later on this year as well. So I got those things coming up, and you know, just constantly pushing, man, constantly striving for the next thing, you know.
Yeah, I remember when you announced that you was on Nashville the initial time, and I think that's the first time me as a black man ever watched a country music station.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
That was all of our first time. For real. You know what? And you know the crazy thing about Nashville, man. And you asked me a question like, what was my hardest roles? I didn't choose that one because the role wasn't hard. Mm-hmm. It was just the transition of having that come alive was because right before I got the call that right before I was leaving to go to Nashville, I got the call that my first cousin was shot and killed.
Wow.
You know, my first cousin, whom I had, you know, remember vividly of just having a conversation with about living our dreams, doing these things. And I was devastated. So I had to fly home to Atlanta and leave here at 1 a.m. so I can get there by 6 a.m. And so I drove in full tears. So wow. I didn't have time to grieve. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So that was very difficult. So in my mind, I was like, man, when they get me on this camera, I just pray that the heart and pain don't overtake what's really going on. But when I got in the moment with Hayden, my character was uncomfortable with what was going on. And he was, you know, irritated. He was pissed at what was happening. So I just used all of that discomfort I felt of not being able to grieve and being heartbroken by that, and I put it in the scene, and then it came out, you know what I'm saying, you know, pretty decent, you know, from what other people were saying. So that was also very, very difficult to do.
Man, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know how I missed that, but I mean, dude, definitely my condolences. I know it was some time ago, but man, that's a different talent, and that's a different not even talent, that's a different strength. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To take something like that and to utilize it in the position that you were in, because it was either break down and lose the role or get through this role and then, do what you got to do later. So I definitely commend you for that one, bro.
Man, it was tough. And you know what, man? J. Cole's I thank J. Cole for this. His that album dropped. His recent
For Your Eyes
album,
Only?
Yeah, For Your Eyes Only dropped. And that album got me through it because the stories he was telling, 22-year-old black man, shot and killed, we got to stop this. And, the other one with the little kid talking, saying, my dad was killed because his friends set him up and all of that. And all of that was similar to what happened to my cousin. So that album really, really, that one and Bruno Mars album really, really got me to
you need something uplifting definitely afterwards.
Yeah.
So what is something that you would like to leave our listeners and your fans, which is the majority of people listening right now, what is something you'd like to leave them with? What is something you'd like to say to them?
Man, I would say, first and foremost, keep God first in everything that you're doing. That's your source. No matter how talented, no matter how gifted, how brilliant you are, without that source, none of it matters. And another thing I would leave them with is believe in yourself, man. Your dreams are valid. Everything that you want to do, everything you strive to do, you can and will do it. There is no limit. The sky is not the limit. That's too short. You can go above and beyond all of that and never stop believing and dreaming. And, you have faith. Having faith is taking that first step. Working hard is taking that second step. And then you just leave the rest to God. But you got to have them first two steps.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that, I would say that, remember that faith, hard work, and you lead the rest to God. And then the rest is history, and just, man, just smile, have a, treat people right, be humble, be humility, and, try to let service and love lead you in everything that you do. And you will always go far.
Mac, my brother, my fellow lion, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing
definitely.
your story, bro.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me, brother. This was a blessing. I've never got to do this before, so this was.
Yo, I'm happy to be the first. Again, I see. I have to get better with you with dealing with the ego because I'm going to take full credit for being the first. When the Donny Hathaway movie come out and everybody buzzing like, yeah, but do you remember when I interviewed Mac Wells? Because if you didn't, here's the episode right here. Go ahead, listen, enjoy that. Let people know, what happened with that. Tell the people where they can find you outside of the big screen, bro.
Man, you can find me on Facebook, which is Mac Wells. That's MAC Wells, WELLS. You can find me on Instagram, Mac in Action. That's Mac _IN _action. And you can find me on Twitter by the same name, Mac in Action. And I'll tell you one more thing, man. Mac Wells, what that name means is with me and Christ, I am well. Mac, me and Christ, I am well as Wells. So my whole career is grounded in my belief in God.
And it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. He's working the whole nine.
Absolutely.
I see you, bro. This is my dude. I'm sorry. Kev, where can they find you other than, digesting the most hottest wings in Las Vegas?
Stop it. That ain't
confirmed.
That ain't confirmed.
It's confirmed.
Find me on Twitter, _Hollywood Kev. Same on my Instagram. Get at me.
At Big Los UTC on Twitter. You can also go to the Beat Network website, beatnetworkonline.com. Go to the About page. You can find all of our Snapchats, all of our social medias. You can also just spruce around the site. Definitely check out the merch and get yourself a Noize shirt. Mm-hmm. Get out there. Show the name in the city a little bit, wherever your city's at. Mac, again, we appreciate you coming on the show, sir. Definitely. Sharing your story. Can't wait to get this one out.
Man, I appreciate y'all for having me, brother. Y'all have a blessed, rest of the weekend, man, and happy holiday.
Same to you, sir. Definitely. And as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, we appreciate you guys' participation. And as always, it's Big Los.
Hollywood Kev.
It's the Noize.